All right, before I call the meeting to order, just want to remind everybody in the council chambers, if you'd please mute your phones. We don't have anybody joining us over Zoom, so we don't need to remind them to remain muted, so. All right, we are at 6 o'clock. Commissioners, you all ready? Okay. The Plan Commission of the City of Glendale is now in session. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Commissioner Atwood will lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the call the roll.
Mayor Kennedy,
Here.
Commissioner Nelson is excused, Commissioner Story is excused, Commissioner Cohn.
Here.
Alderman Bailey,
Here.
Commissioner Reek is excused, as well as Commissioner Seligman and Commissioner Atwood.
Here.
This being the big vacation month, we do have a quorum, but just barely. All right. We have on the agenda, it says adoption of the minutes. The minutes are actually not ready for us to consider tonight. So we will have the July and August minutes both for in our September meeting. So we have a number of items of new business. The first item of new business is a public hearing. This is a request from Colin Comer for a storage, service, and maintenance facility. The public hearing is on a conditional use. We did already entertain this last month. It was properly noticed. We then scheduled the public hearing, it was properly noticed. I'll ask Mr. Fellows, do you have anything you want to add before I open the public hearing?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you. All right, then I will open the public hearing. If there's anyone wishing to speak for or against the conditional use for 2035 West Bender Road being utilized as a service and maintenance facility for vintage car collection. Is there anyone wishing to speak? And I'll say we have somebody on the Zoom. If they want to speak in the public hearing, you can unmute and state your name.
Angie is.
Okay, thank you. So second call, anyone wishing to speak in the public hearing? And third and final call, anyone wishing to speak in the public hearing? All right, can I have a motion from a member of the commission to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Cohen, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Bailey. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Public hearing is. We have before us then a conditional use approval and a recommendation from staff. The recommendation from staff is that we, and considering no one spoke for or against in the public hearing, we'll go with the staff recommendation to grant approval of the conditional use permit for Colin Comer for a storage, service, and maintenance facility for a vintage used car collection at 2035 West Bender Road, subject to the 4 conditions. Could I get a motion from a member of the commission, please?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Cohen. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Bailey. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Conditional use is approved. All right, we'll move on then to next item, item 3C, discussion of possible action for business use approval. Oh, that one actually was withdrawn since our last meeting. Item 3D, discussion of possible action for business use approval for Buffalo Wild Wings for a takeout restaurant in the little shopping strip at 5530 North Port Washington Road. I think this is the middle of the 3, Wisconsin Vision and Board Game Barrister there. So turn it over to staff for a recommendation.
Correct. It is the middle location at that shopping center. Buffalo Wild Wings to go restaurant. It will be a delivery or direct web order walk-in style takeout facility. The hours were listed in the report. They will have only a few tables just for those who are waiting. There won't be any TVs or anything. Won't be a gathering space, so to speak, inside. And staff is recommending approval subject to the 5 conditions noted in the report, which are pretty common conditions that we typically have.
All right, thank you. Is there someone representing Buffalo Wild Wings? Okay. Okay, could I have you come up to the table, please? Yeah. So because we have people on the Zoom, you have to speak directly into the microphone. Otherwise, they can't hear you. The microphone's their only way of being able to hear you. So if you could state your name and just let us know, tell us a little bit about the project and how this came about. I know that Buffalo Wild Wings was at Bayshore and then closed that location. And so, why the move to the new location, everything. So.
Okay, hello, I'm Dina McKinley. I am the construction manager for the Buffalo Wild Wing Go project. I am a contracted employee with Inspire Brands. So I have to admit, I don't know the backstory to why the other location was closed. However, I believe that that was a full Buffalo Wild Wings restaurant. Now, the Buffalo Wild Wing Go concept is slightly different. It's the same menu, a little bit limited. We do not serve any alcohol and do not have any plans of serving any alcohol at this facility. It is, as John mentioned, it is a style for takeout orders. Customers can order either at the counter and do takeout or order online and takeout. We do not have a delivery service within the company. That would be third-party delivery services only. But we do have very limited seating, I believe 8 chairs available for seating. Really is a convenience and for people to be waiting. Other than that, it's not intended to be a destination restaurant, a sit-down facility. So customers staying there for any length of time is going to be limited. There are no sports viewing TVs, unlike the standard Buffalo Wild Wings restaurants. The only televisions on in this facility would be the menu, digital menu boards and ordering displays. What else would you like to know?
I think that sounds good. I'll just go ahead. We have seen already the plans. They were in our packet. So I'll turn it over to members of the commission if they have any questions.
More just curious, like, is it just like a move in business strategy with BW3s or?
As far as the Go concept?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like as a national trend or like,
They are not going to get away with, or they are not going to close the full restaurants. That's kind of, the Go is actually a separate business unit within Inspire Brands, Inspire Brands being the parent company. It's kind of in response to the trend, consumer trend of more takeout orders. And just the convenience of, ordering online, coming in, picking it up, or having DoorDash, et cetera, deliver. Just kind of a growing need for that sector. So it's a relatively new concept, started a couple of years ago. I believe we have 25 locations nationwide that are now open, including a handful here in the Milwaukee and Chicago areas. So it's new. Inspire Brands is trying out, but so far it's gone quite well.
Other questions from? It's funny, you're actually the second restaurant of this type. The Chick-fil-A that's currently under construction just down the road has no eat-in at all. It's entirely either like DoorDash, Uber Eats pickup, or takeout, or drive-through. That's it. So there's this is a concept a lot of restaurants are a lot of chains are certainly looking at. So
I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of it.
yep.
I guess. It's a good the style. They're very streamlined. They're very similar from one location to the next. I actually have some photos of some recently constructed sites, if anyone wants to see them, but it's very similar. They have the iconic blue tile wall that you'd see in Buffalo Wild Wings, and a lot of gray tile around the perimeter of the building, black ceilings. Yeah, and the kitchens are very well organized and streamlines. Operations has had a lot to say with the design of these stores. So they're all very, very similar. But yeah, for a lot of restaurant chains especially, I think that this is a niche market that a lot of companies have realized that there's just a consumer demand for it. So I did want to mention that I had just received yesterday a conceptual garbage dumpster enclosure design from the landlord. If
Has
you
that
don't-
been shared with staff already?
It has not. I just received it.
Okay.
So I have some printouts. I can also send over the PDF and
So one of the conditions actually that when our recommendation tonight is dumpsters for trash and recycling shall be screened to be in compliance with section 13.1.144 of our city ordinances at the time of occupancy. So as long as you have those, you just want to make sure staff has them. And then staff will sign off on that. So,
oh, definitely.
And the reason I put that in there is just simply because between the tenant and the landlord, they were debating whether they're going to enlarge the space or how they're going to modify it or separate it. And so I said, well, we can just put this in here and staff can take care of it. So.
rarely are we asking questions about where you're putting the dumpsters and what the screening looks like. Usually that's part of the recommendation from staff and they make sure that it meets the city ordinance. So, yeah. All right. Any other questions from members of the commission? All right. We do have a recommendation from staff for approval, subject to 5 conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Bailey. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Cohn. Any further discussion? All in favor of approval? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion. Thank you.
Much.
Next is discussion of possible action for site and architecture review for the redevelopment of the North Shore Fire and Rescue Station located right there, just next door. So I'll turn it over to staff first and then whoever's presenting on behalf of the fire department. Fellows.
So as you all know, the North Shore Fire and Rescue is looking to build a new fire station just to the south of City Hall here. I can actually see the site through the window that I'm looking out. They are looking to move their main headquarters there. This would also serve as the fire station for this particular area of the North Shore. And this proposal also includes a portion of the building for the North Shore Health Department to have their main headquarters here, and they would share various amenities on the interior from conference rooms and other types of things in a common area of the main building there. The fire trucks will still exit onto Civic Drive. The parking for the visitors and customers and citizens will be on the north side of the property. Do you want me to pull up? I know you all have drawings, so let me know if you want me to pull anything up, but I'm assuming you've reviewed them and I'm just kind of describing them, but.
I'll have them up right now on the devices in front of us. So.
Okay, all right.
I guess unless people in the audience want to be able to see them, so.
I don't see anyone saying they want to, so we'll just keep moving through
Got it.
from this perspective. So we have both city administration as well as the fire department have gone over a lot of things over the last number of months with the fire station, from circulation to utilities and those things. I think we've worked a lot of those things out. Our recommendation does contain 11 conditions. I'm going to point out most of them are fairly standard. There are a few things just for clarification. And then the one item, which is number 11, some of the work that is going to be done, it does cross onto city property. So that's going to be an outstanding issue, whether there's a negotiation and a new CSM made, or we do easements or something like that. That will have to be worked out in the interim, but I think there's some plans for that. So we'll be able to deal with that. So if it's easements or CSMs, you may see something coming back to you if it needs planning commission or city council approval.
I do have one question. It looked like on the plans here that path of entry and exit for the police cruisers is
Yes.
maintained.
It is maintained. So there was a lot of discussion about the visitors parking, being able to access the north-south connection for the police department. And what was chosen was to try to keep a planting median in that area so that public works and police and authorized vehicles will maintain in that area. To the west side of the fire station, there is some parking spaces, but those would be reserved for the actual firemen. And they're just going to have to be cautious like they currently are. They're not unfamiliar with the path already. And then the circulation area for the fire department does have a connection to the city parking lot. So the benefit there is if at the fire department or the health department, they were having a large event, people could flow over into the city parking lot and they'd be able to drive from one to the other and walk from one to the other. Or if we had a large attendance in the council chambers here and they didn't have anything happening over there, people could find some extra parking too. So it's a little bit of a connected space.
Certainly more so than it is.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, good evening.
Evening, John from CUNY Architects. Couple things to add. The parking that is on the west side has been moved from the far west side to the east side of that north-south drive so that the firefighters aren't crossing that traffic too.
They're parking next to the building as opposed to walking
Exactly,
across.
which it's the opposite way right now.
Right.
John had mentioned the cross easement piece. Currently today, the parking lot that North Shore is using is that way already, but it's just getting some agreement in place for that. The rest of the items, we see no issue taken care of, and looking for any feedback that we can answer, any questions too.
I've seen the plans a number of times, so I don't, because I'm also in the fire department. I don't have any questions. I'll turn it over to the members of the commission though.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cohen.
Question, you presently have 5 overhead doors. I think you're going to 8. Is that going to increase equipment in the project?
So 6 of them are going to be the primary fire doors, and the other 2 that are on the far west side are for the maintenance bay. Equipment wise, yeah, stay about the same.
Refresh my memory, last meeting, if we tear this building down, where is equipment going to be maintained for the protection of the area?
Yeah, so that's in the works. They are looking to rent in the adjacent area. And Chief, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, we're currently looking at options. Area, or I do have
Questions from members of the. I would go ahead.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, how long has this new upgrade been needed, and is like how many years in the future do you plan for? I'm just a great curiosity question.
So the building that's there now was built, I believe, in the 50s. It's had some interior minor remodels, but generally the infrastructure of the building is the same. The HVAC system has had some significant issues. The HVAC system was actually underneath the floor. And the floor, so all the ducting is under the floor. That has flooded multiple times. So we've had to put temporary ducting into the ceilings, which is probably the better place it should have been to begin with. But and we have some sanitary sewer connection issues too. So since 2016, we've looked at, as the fire department board has looked at this as a long-term financial plan, and we've worked on 3 stations. This is the 3rd of the 3 that would be in this plan, and it's coincided with some debt service issues that are coming up.
I did have one question. I know we had talked at one point about there being some sort of a larger gathering area in there in the case of like a state of emergency where police, fire, and health could all gather together to oversee a state of emergency.
Yeah, so one of the issues that we don't have in this any of the 7 North Shore communities that the health department or the fire department service and the police departments all work well together is what they call an emergency operations center for a common place where leaders of either the communities or the emergency services can get together in one place. And that's a pretty common thing that communities have. We don't have that. We don't have the space. So the building has what is deemed a training and conference room, but that space will be, in a case of an emergency, could be used as that versus as a day-to-day use. So it's a multi-purpose space, I guess I would call it. And that would be something that would be through the pandemic and last year when we had some of the protests that happened, and in previous years we've had a lot of flooding issues. That's always been a struggle we as municipal and emergency services have had in the North Shore. We don't have a space for that.
What's the timeline? Going out on bid, breaking ground, start to
So
finish?
I think we are probably, so the last time I was here, and I think at the previous fire department board meeting, we had talked about potentially being out to bid this week. I think we're a couple of weeks behind on that right now. We're probably looking at going out to bid in about 2 to 3 weeks, bid opening in about 30 days after that, and then bid review at the October fire department meeting, which is the second Tuesday of the month. At that point, it's my expectation construction probably doesn't start till spring, but we want to firm some things up before then.
A 1-year project? City Hall was a 1-year project, so I'm assuming probably similar.
Probably yeah, that's what we've been planning for temporary.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had one more question too. So not like Glendale is growing in geographic size, of course, over the years, but I mean, do you anticipate as a fire chief like the need for more bays, say 20 years from now? Because you're not really necessarily increasing space for additional vehicles. Do you anticipate that not being a need in the future, or how does that work?
So the current building has 5 vehicle bays and 1 maintenance bay. So this building has 1 more vehicle bay in it. So it's there for potential need. I don't necessarily, expansion, if anything, would be on the EMS side of services. And that's potentially where I could see that happening. But there is space built in, and there's staff space. So, they're 24-hour shifts. So you have to have a place for them to sleep. You have to have a place, bathrooms, you have to have all that, showers. That's all built into this to add 2 to 3 more people in there if we ever had to.
You have a recommendation from staff then to 11 conditions?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Atwood, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Cohn. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion.
Thank you.
Next item is discussion of possible action for site and architecture review for Johnson Controls. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Fellows for staff recommendation.
Thank you very much. Johnson Controls is looking to upgrade their site, both a little bit of architecturally at certain key entrances, as well as just about every corner of the landscape. They're planning to do a little something, whether it might be a path or a plaza or something. So they're basically upgrading the campus so that it's a little bit more enjoyable for their employees. I think that's probably a quick synopsis. The plans were attached. You'll see quite a bit of it is site related, but there is some upgrades to the architecture at some of the main entrances to allow for some different flexibility at the entrances. There's also some changes that will benefit rescue responses on the property as well. And I recommendation of the microphone's going in and out. The recommendation includes 7 conditions. One of them, I'll just point out, does have some things to do with the city engineer and director of public works with regard to some stormwater and other types of things. I know they've taken care of some of them on the plans, and I know they'll probably finish those before they submit formal building permits and things. So.
Anyone here from Johnson Controls? You drew the short straw, huh? Well, good evening. If you could just tell us your name and your position with the company, please.
Yep, Thad Steffen, Vice President of Enterprise Property Group and Security for Johnson Controls.
Okay, thank you for coming out tonight. So I guess tell us a little bit about what precipitated this these upgrade changes.
Yeah, so it's a number of things, but as we have sold our downtown property, we're going to be moving more and more folks into the Glendale building, and our return to work plans are multifaceted. And one of the things that, again, keeping up with some of our peers and keeping up with the Joneses per se, is creating some outdoor workplaces that people can go out, answer emails, have meetings outside during our nice weather here, things like that. So we're trying to create a more campus feel, so that the, employees feel that when they come to work. Enhancing some of those entry pieces, as John mentioned. Right now, our employee entry is kind of nondescript, doesn't really call out anything. So we want to enhance that, have a little bit of improvements there. And that's also south facing. Some of the other improvements are west facing, so you get the sun. And then this will dovetail into interior improvements that we will be coming in front of the Plan Commission of. This is just a priority to get this on the docket and approved. Not saying we're going to do everything, shovels in the ground day one. There are certain areas that we're probably going to phase in over time on the outside as we do some of the inside stuff. So. Yep.
I'll turn it over to. All right. Well, we have a staff recommendation subject to 7 conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Bailey. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Cohn. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3G, discussion and possible action for site and architecture review for Elite Fitness for the installation of paddle courts and other associated amenities. I will turn it over to Mr. Fellows first.
Yes, so Elite Fitness, they are looking to expand their campus to add some paddle tennis paddle tennis, outdoor tennis facilities. This is a facility that's actually on a platform. So it's actually, there is air actually under the platform. If you're not familiar with it, there will be a building. That building will be able to be used both by the paddle courts as well as the swimming pool area. So it will kind of bring the two together. The area that is being modified is directly to the west of the pool area, if you're familiar with the layout of the campus there. One of the other items I just want to let you know is they have a fairly old development agreement. It's been amended multiple times. It dates back, I think it might be older than I am actually. But they're going to amend it because paddle tennis is actually a sport that often occurs in the evening. And so in Wisconsin, that in the nighttime, it gets dark sometimes at 4 o'clock or at 9:30. And so sometimes parts of this season, they will actually need lights so that you can actually play the game. And so that development agreement will go to City Council next Monday. The recommendation on Monday's agenda for City Council will be that the lights basically can turn on at dusk, and they'll turn off half an hour after close, which would be 10:30 because they close at 10. That would give them enough time to staff to either clean up or anyone who's finishing a game to wrap up and then get to their cars.
Thank you. Anybody here from Elite Fitness? Well, I guess are there any questions from members of the commission?
My only question was, according to the write-up, the aluminum decking,
You need to speak directly into the microphone.
aluminum decking and the rain and melted snow will be melted through. Is there a sewer system being installed to accept this water, rain?
No, that wouldn't be a sewer system. It would be would be through their stormwater management plan, which has been submitted and reviewed by the city engineer.
Thank you. Which way would the lights, would there be bright lights on till 10:30, like facing any neighborhood homes?
So with the lighting that is now today, I mean, if you go back 20 years, you would have had these lights on a pole that kind of shined and it would have you would have seen it. Now everything's at a flat horizontal level and it would be extremely focused. So there is a photometric plan just a little bit farther off from the actual courts. It goes down to almost zero. So it's a very focused type of lighting. If you are farther away or if you're driving down Green Bay and the lights are on, you're going to see them off in a distance, just like you would someone's porch light or a parking lot or something. So, but it won't actually have shining, at 45-degree angled that people might be accustomed to from the past.
Will it increase the number of lumens or whatever the
Well, right.
technical term is in like across the field to those homes though? I live in that neighborhood.
So how do I describe this? Right now it's an empty mode field, so at night it's dark.
Yeah.
So yes, the lights, the light isn't going to be shining towards the homes, but if you're standing on that first cul-de-sac, let's say, you're gonna see the lights off in a distance, but it's not gonna be coming back at you. You're probably gonna see the light coming down to the paddleball court and then maybe a little bit of reflectivity. There is a landscaping plan around it. One of the conditions you'll see in the staff report is when I reviewed it, I felt like they did very good screening from Green Bay, but they maybe were a little bit lax towards that one cul-de-sac. So I'm suggesting to Planning Commission to approve it with 2 more groups of evergreen type plantings with a variety of evergreens, so that over time they'll start to grow up, and then what will happen is in maybe 5 years you won't see that light off in the distance. Does that?
Yeah,
help?
I would prefer that as well. I mean, I know both those people who, like, I know everyone on that street,
Mhm.
and I'm just thinking like, there's little kids in the home right there, and then there's, yeah, I mean, it just might be it might be behoove them to do that. I'd prefer that probably.
It will be a change.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Something like that, like, would it be terribly inconvenient to them to like take some time to talk to the neighbors before we approve this? Or would that slow their timeline down or no?
so there's nothing actually in the city codes that would require, so for site plan review, there's not a notification that goes out to neighbors or anything like that. So as a citizen, you just kind of have to pay attention to the agendas, those types of things. So you could certainly,
The plan review is not subject to mandate.
you're more doing, a site plan review is more of a technical review, I guess I would say. It's not so much totally subjective. I guess the component that's more subjective would be the development agreement with the city council on Monday. They would have the ability to actually say, yes, they want to amend it, or no, they don't want to amend it, or they want some other version in between that would be presented to them.
This coming Monday?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I may just drop by and just let them know, and if you're like royally upset, to contact the city or something, but just in case. Or let my alderman know, this guy. Yeah. I forgot
I'm
about
gonna
that.
pass
Phil.
out his phone number just anonymously.
I forgot about that,
All
Philip.
phone
Yeah.
calls.
Got your flyer.
All right, any other questions? So staff did give us a recommendation that we grant the site plan and architectural approval, subject to the 9 conditions. The development agreement itself was actually something that has to be approved by the common council. So can I get a motion to accept the staff recommendation subject to the 9 conditions? Moved by Commissioner Cohn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Atwood. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Next item is item C3H, consideration and discussion regarding an application for site design changes for an MMSD property at 100 to 300 West Riverwoods Parkway. Turn it over to Mr. Fellows.
Thank you very much. So just as a reminder, when we have a planned development district, there's 2 options. The planning commission can determine something is a minor amendment, and then it just goes and has an approval for planning commission and city council. If the planning commission determines it to be a major amendment, it actually has to then go back to the beginning of the process, and there's hearings, and it becomes a multi-month process, and the actual development agreements and things are actually amended. And given this particular situation, staff believes that this should be a minor amendment, specifically because this is mostly a temporary facility. When this project will include, there's already a current fence out there. They're going to replace the existing fence, and then an area that is currently has some vegetation will be cleared, and they're going to put up a temporary structure. And this area will allow them both along the Milwaukee River, and my understanding is a lot of other specific locations throughout the North Shore, do some removal of some contaminations and sediment throughout the area. And then once they're complete with that process, the temporary building will be removed, and all that will be left is the new fence that is in the general location of what the old fence is. So that would be why staff's recommending this be a minor amendment. A description of what's going to actually occur is noted within the staff report. And just to guess kind of move forward, there's just 4 conditions. Once there is some things with regard to engineering and public works comments, and then there also may be some concerns. Both the fire department has reviewed the temporary structure, but they're kind of waiting on comments. Once they see the temporary structure, they may have other things during the building permit stage that they might require. And then they expect the work to be done within about 12 months, but it could be as much as 18 months. So there's a condition there that they will just try to, this won't become a multi-year decade thing. And, or if for some reason they would, gets past 18 months, they'd come back.
Anyone here from MMSD? State your name and your position, and then I'll open up to members of the commission if they have any questions.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Keith Callinger. I'm a senior project manager at the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District. Brief recap of the project. Mayor, I'm not sure if you remember some of the projects, or this Basin H project. I think it was advertised a number of times, and we had some bidding issues and whatnot, and we worked our way through that. And now we have a contractor that's in-house and under contract right now, the Taplin Group. Just a brief recap of the project. There's quite a bit of history to this. If you're familiar with things that have been happening in the sewage district area since all the way back in 2008. The district was undertaking a cleaning project to do some rehabilitation of larger diameter sewers. When we were doing that, we were seeing large PCB spikes down at Jones Island facility in our Milorganite production. All work was stopped. We decided or tried to figure out where this was coming from. And that happened around 2007, 2008. There was a lot of investigation that happened, and we, lo and behold, we find out that there's a great amount of PCBs in an MIS sewer that roughly is around Humboldt Avenue. From the old Milwaukee diecast site, which is over on Holton, all the way south to, we'll just say Chambers Street, that's in the city of Milwaukee. There's a project that the MMSD has been working on for many, many years because it does require an EPA action plan. And we have worked with the EPA, and we have an approved plan for us and a contractor to enter into the sewer at a number of locations, remove this PCB contaminated sediment. And then because we have to treat it to some degree, PCB is a chemical that it's not readily destroyed. It can't be, easily destroyed or treated. So it has to be reduced to a certain level, treated like in a local area, and then taken to a certain type of landfill. That landfill will be in Michigan, I believe. So, but part of our project is to remove that sediment from certain areas along this MIS sewer and take it to a central location where we can dewater it. Obviously, it's very wet, and we want to make sure that it's sediment and then water. The water will be treated, because it can be treated, and then returned back to the MMSD sewer. So there was a reason why we looked for a site that was close to our MIS sewer. And then once that sediment is dried, it'll be shipped off of off-site. So the MMSD has a site, it's the NS3 site that's, off of Esterbrook Boulevard there. We worked with the city of Glendale and another property owner to enlarge the site of this facility to accommodate this project. So working through that, part of our specifications require that this treatment system has to be contained. And I don't just mean contained like all in one spot. It has to have a structure over it, because we're removing PCBs from the system. We don't then want rainwater to then contaminate that, or that to go somewhere else. So not only would the vessels probably themselves be contained and closed, but we're requiring per our specs to have a structure over it. And that structure is a spring type structure, so with trusses and whatnot. So we are improving this site, I guess. We are going to be, leveling it to a point where it can accommodate construction work and staging and some trailers for temporary offices as well too, and parking. But and we are enlarging kind of, there's a fence around there right now. We're kind of enlarging the footprint of that site as well too. There's been some security issues right there too, and access and whatnot. And we want to make sure that, we can keep that contained and proper, and it's not used for, illegal dumping or anything like that too. It's also, as you know, it's kind of tucked away in the back and kind of an out of sight, out of mind. So one thing I'd like to add though is after the work is done, and we have the project is supposed to last, it's a 600-day duration for the project. We are working with Taplin, and we're anticipating a much shorter time frame to accommodate the work. But when we put bid documents together, it was estimated that if there is an upset condition or if winter, that it might take a full 600 days. We're not anticipating a full 600 days. But what I wanted to get to is that after the site is done, we're not just going to restore it with like turf grass or anything like that. There's actually a pretty extensive planting plan, which I don't know if, I think it was included in some of the submittals, or if not, we can get that to you. A number of trees as part of the MMSD kind of green seams project, where we're trying to plant. I know Kevin Schaefer wants to plant many trees, in the area, and there's only so many projects where there's a great amount of area where we can plant trees. Fortunately for this NS3 project, we have no secondary use for this property. So our restoration is going to be a lot and varied trees in that area. So and working with Taplin, we understand that this spring structure requires, what we're here for tonight. So and I'm here to answer any questions that you guys may have too.
All right, thank you. Questions? The question, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, given the fact that this is the first time I've heard that it's probably going to be a 2-year process, I think probably would want to make sure that it's the fourth condition is at least 24 months or longer, as you might choose. And we don't have the planting plan. So if you could just email that to me, that'd be great.
Sure, we'll definitely do that.
Thank you.
Okay, so staff recommendation, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation with item number 4, saying 24 months, and a 5th item that the planting and landscaping plan be submitted to Glendale staff.
Okay.
All right, so can I have a motion to that?
It's not quite, it's 600 days. So that's not quite 24 months.
Well, we'll give you
but-
24 months just in
Okay,
case.
okay,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah,
all right.
So, all right, can I get a motion to that effect, please? Moved by Commissioner Cohn, second by Commissioner Atwood. All right, any further discussion?
One question.
Yep,
How do you proceed when the temperature is 0 or 10 degrees?
you need to speak into the mic, please, Fred.
How does the weather affect 10 degrees or something in your project?
That was a concern, and that's why when our consultant, which is a different firm that puts together the bid package or how they think this work is going to be done, apart from how a contractor does the work, it's a simple treatment system, but it's gravity fed. And if it is cold out, one, it's hard to work in, people crawling into sewers or working with materials in very, very cold conditions is not easy. But then 2, the treatment system has to at least be, water has to be flowing. So if we're at like negative temperatures or 0 degrees for weeks at a time, there may be an interruption in the treatment process. Now, again, things will be closed, things will be enclosed. So the possibilities of things freezing up on us is not as great, but and I believe that was one of the reasons why a long duration was built into the contract, just so in case there is, because we obviously don't want to hamper a contractor too and drive the price up as well. So again, in talking to our contractor, we're not anticipating a lot of closures due to weather, but that's always a possibility.
Any other question? All right, so we have a motion. Planning Commission site changes are subject to 5 conditions. All those in favor of the motion, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion.
Very much.
Right, next item. Long agenda. Okay, next is I. This is consideration and discussion regarding an application for Devo Properties, River Park Apartments for site design changes for 1616 West Bender Road. I will turn it over first to staff.
Sure, thank you, Chairman. Just so you know, the applicants are actually on the Zoom call for this particular item. I know it's Angie, and I believe both Heather and Jerry may be with this item also. So the Devco Properties, they, as you're aware, this spring approved their plan development. They did begin construction, and as they began working on construction, what they had originally planned was a hung bay system on every window system. So it's a two-story building. They were going to connect the upper and the lower windows together with this wooden bay type element that came out. And they determined while they were working on it that they just felt that it was just too many bays, and that having a little bit different architecture where it's essentially a pattern where there's a bay and then there's not a bay, then there's a bay, then there's not a bay. The current architecture does have soldier course bricks that actually run vertically on either side of the windows. So you'll still sort of have this vertical line type item, but they're essentially requesting to remove about 50% of the original bays that were on the project. I think that's a short synopsis. There's a couple staff recommendations on the report, and I don't know if Angie's on the call, if she might have anything she might want to add.
Thanks, John. That was a great summary. Yes, as he said, we did just feel like it was getting a little too repetitive and redundant. And so we do want to expose a little bit of the existing building again. We are not changing anything in regard to the south courtyard. That will remain as it was originally designed, with all of the bump outs and then the 6 little dormer shed roofs that we have over the windows. So that does remain in place. The sides that we're affecting would be the east and west long facades, as well as the north courtyard. Again, it's not that visible to the passersby. So we did feel like it was a little bit too redundant and got a little too heavy with everything hanging off the building. So I do have the renderings. If you want me to share them, I can do that from the screen, but I believe you have them in your packet as well. So
We actually all have them. I can see everybody around me. We all have them up on our devices. So
wonderful.
So it was part structural, it was the weight, as well as, I'm assuming, to some degree aesthetic as well?
Not that much structural. We weren't affecting the structure. It was more architectural based that we were hanging. We just felt like those bump outs were getting a little too repetitive. They were very close together with all of the windows, because we do have, obviously, every bedroom and every living room has a window in it. So we did feel like it just got a little bit too close together when we assessed it again.
Okay, thank you. I'll open up to members of the commission. Any questions? Brad, any questions? Everybody else is shaking their head no. All right. So we have a recommendation from staff. The recommendation is for the determination this is not a significant change to the plans that were considered before. And the motion then to recommend to the Common Council approval of the minor modifications. Do those get noted, John, do those get noted then in the development agreement as minor modifications, or?
No, in a very strange way, that's not how the code works. So the code, if you determine it to be a major amendment, we'd go all the way through, and then we'd actually do an amendment too. And with these minor amendments, the code just basically says it goes to Planning Commission and City Council. So it's a little interesting that way from a paper trail.
Okay.
But it will just be in the minutes.
Okay.
So of both the Planning Commission and City Council. So.
All right, thank you. So can I get a motion then, the determination that these are not significant, and then recommend the Common Council approve the minor modifications, please?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Atwood. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Cohn. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right. Thank you all for joining and thank you for sitting tight there for a little while until we got to your item.
No problem. Thanks for squeezing us on the agenda.
Sure, no problem. All
Have a
right.
good night.
Thank you. The next item then is just consideration and discussion regarding an application for change of zoning for 6100 North Green Bay Avenue. And I will turn it over to John.
Thank you very much. So this particular item, I've been working with David Hobbs Honda for a number of months, discussing various options. They would like to, in 2023, build a new showroom. That new showroom would be built to the south of their current showroom. The new showroom would be essentially for new cars, and then the existing building would be retained, and that would be for service and other types of things in that part for the non-newer car type products. And so the situation is they actually have the frontage along Green Bay. And then as you're familiar, they have another parcel that is actually to the east of their main parcel. And to put the new showroom in, it would actually have to cross the property boundary. And so they would do a CSM to combine the two parcels, but then we would be left with two zonings because that back parcel was part of a planned development district. And we need to be able to get everything into one district or not. And it just, the space doesn't allow for it. So we went through a number of options. And so essentially what's going to happen is we're going to, what's before you is a proposal to amend the existing planned development district. It would remove that parcel from that planned development district. And then it would rezone the property to B4, which is what the current facility is zoned currently. And then once we get through the zoning process, I believe that will be probably mid-fall. As the schedule kind of falls, you'll see a CSM that will combine the two parcels together. And then they are currently working with Honda in terms of what the showroom would look like. So I'd anticipate at the end of the year, possibly the beginning, maybe January, the first of the year, you'll actually see the site plan and architecture of the new building. So.
I know Fred and I were around for this, but just for, I guess, the other, for Alderman Bailey as well. Actually, were you around when, no, this redevelopment, this was the Dove Nursing Home, and they took their existing site, turned into apartments. This was the back field behind the nursing home. And so was separated off with the CSM at that time, but it was all still part of the planned development agreement district.
Correct.
It created two uses, an apartment complex and then
Parking lot.
a parking lot essentially for Hobbs Honda. So yeah, I like this. I think this is a good step in the right direction. So I guess the only thing before us tonight would be to direct staff to schedule a public hearing at the next earliest opportunity. So could I get a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Atwood, second by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries. Our next meeting, November something.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, you're September. It's the Tuesday after the holiday.
Which I think is September 6th.
6th, correct.
You just said August, so just the date is.
I didn't change that, but
The number is right. It's just September 6th. Okay, so Tuesday, September 6th. All right, and with nothing else on our agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Commissioner Cohen, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Atwood. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Opposed? And adjourned. That was a long agenda and we did that in 53 minutes. I'm
I
impressed.
think you did that quicker than last month's agenda. And last month's, I think you only had 3 items, but there is this theory, the shorter the agenda, the longer the meeting, and the longer the agenda, the shorter the meeting. I don't know. It just always plays out that way.